Girls is the big screen adaptation of the musical stage play, which in itself is a musical adaptation of the 2004 original film. Did I get all of that right? My love and appreciation of the original Mean Girls film is so extensive that the first time I ever saw it was a week ago. Yeah, I never really grew up with the original Mean Girls film, which is weird because everyone around me apparently had and loved it. It's just the fact that I was never shown it when I was young. But after seeing the original recently, I do have to admit, I did like it. It was funny, there were a lot of good messages, and there were a whole lot of lines where I had the reaction of, wait, this is where that's from? I actually really enjoyed the first film, and although I've never seen the musical, I was very interested to see what new avenue they were going to take with not only a remake, but a musical adaptation. And overall, I really enjoyed this film. Yeah, I honestly went into this movie with medium expectations at best, but overall, I had a good time with it. I think easily the best part about this movie is just the fact that it's just flat out funny. The movie is not 100% just every single joke and every single line from the original Mean Girls film. The movie does try to update itself with new jokes, and about 90% of the time, those jokes do land. I found myself laughing consistently from this film, not just because they were repeating the lines from Mean Girls that I already liked, but also because of the fact that they were coming up with new jokes that were funny. And while I would say that everyone in this movie is really good in their roles, there were two that really stood out to me. Renee Rapp is not only fantastic as Regina, but she is fantastic in different ways than Rachel McAdams was fantastic in the original Mean Girls. McAdams in the original Mean Girls was essentially this over-the-top valley girl that was fantastic, and she made that role iconic. And if Renee Rapp essentially just did that performance again, it would easily have been picked apart to death. Her version of Regina has this subtle confidence to her. In the way that she carries herself, she just has this aura that she is better than literally everyone around her. It's a very different take on the same character, and I really think it worked. And as blasphemous as it might be to say, Karen in this film, I think, is 100 times funnier than the Karen in the original movie. Don't get me wrong, Amanda Seyfried was funny in that role, but Avantika Vananapu, and I am so sorry if I butchered your name, was so fantastic in this film. She just has this blank expression throughout the majority of the film that in and of itself is hilarious. But the new lines that she is given in this film, along with the different actions that her character takes in this film, are equally as funny. She was easily the funniest character in the entire movie. And in terms of the visuals and the editing, they are fantastic. The color palette throughout this entire film is so vibrant, along with every now and again some weird experimental angles that they tried to go for, and about 90% of the time, those weird experimental shots really do work. I do applaud this film for visually trying to have a different look than the original movie. And how are the musical numbers? Well, in all honesty, I loved them. The vocals are beautiful, the choreography is great, the compositions of the songs are fantastic, and the lyrics are really funny. That said, however, the movie does fall into a trap with its musical numbers that does draw a lot of comparisons to the original movie. This film will take one segment from that original film, a segment that in the original took like 30 seconds maximum to really get across to the audience, and turn it into a 3-minute music number. And even though the music is great, it does feel like they're dragging out what in the original didn't need to be dragged out. And this does lead me to my only big negative of the movie, and unfortunately it is a massive negative. When this movie tries to do something different, that's when the film is usually at its best, but when this movie is just Mean Girls again, that's when it's at its worst. When this movie is line for line the original film, sometimes even with the actors giving the exact same inflections, that's when the movie feels like it's just copy and pasting from that original movie. Because so much of this film is great and really does stand apart from that original film. But when the writing of this film is essentially just echoing the script from the original film, made even worse by the fact that you do have returning cast members in this film like Tim Meadows and Tina Fey, who a lot of times are essentially just saying the exact same lines that they were in the 2004 film. You just sort of have this response to the writing of, if you're just going to do the exact same thing again, why aren't I just watching that original movie? But despite that admittedly big problem with the film, again, that is my only big problem with this movie, because overall, I had a great time with it. When the movie just does Mean Girls again, that's when it definitely just feels like a carbon copy. But when the film does try to be different, whether it's in terms of the new and good jokes, the different and interesting performances, or the brilliant musical numbers, that's when the film is at its strongest. And its strongest is pretty damn good. I'm gonna give Mean Girls a B. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best, and don't forget to click subscribe and click that bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.